Hi everyone, Grant has asked us to share about the coronavirus that we went through. We're laughing because this is now take number 5.
Yeah, so when was it? In kind of middle of June, I went up to Pretoria to go and bury my father, and while I was up there, Helen phoned me and said to me that she's feeling very sick, and she doesn't know whether she should go to work. So I suggested that we do the responsible thing and for her to stay away from work rather until we know whether she's got the coronavirus or not. And so that day she went to have herself tested, and I flew back that same evening. And then
so I'm working in an old age home at the moment, and I was working over the weekend, and the Sunday I did one of the residents' temperatures, and it was slightly high, and we decided, we all have our PPEs on, and we decided to just put other quarantine measures in place. So we isolated her, just had one of the carers work with her for the whole night, and then that was the Sunday. And then by the Wednesday morning, I'm working night shift, so I had to go back, and I woke up and I didn't feel well. There was no major symptoms that I could say. My body just didn't feel well, and that's when I spoke to Jean. So one of the things was that I went to see the doctor, and he suggested that I have the test done, as I had exposure. I did go through Dischem, their underground parking lot at Blue Route. You go in and they've got stations set up so you can actually just have the swab done, fill in the forms, pay, and off you go. I had to wait 5 working days, which was a bit stressful because you do worry over the weekend what's happening. But by day 2 was the first time I started feeling other symptoms. So my symptoms were definitely a tighter chest. I struggled with a lot of tiredness. You're so exhausted, you can't walk 5 meters, then you actually breathing so badly that it feels like you've run a marathon. I had headaches, severe headaches, and what was the other one? Oh, and a loss of taste and smell. So those were my major ones.
That only came at the end?
Yeah, that only came about a week and a half towards the end. That came out the last 3 or 4 days. So my major ones was the tightness of my chest. We were taking supplements at that stage, just vitamin C's and things, and I had some cortisone. So instead of taking the 6 like it's usually prescribed, I started with 4 a day. And it's not that you can't breathe, you can actually breathe. It's just your mind telling you that your chest is tight, so you can't breathe. So I spent a lot of time outdoors just taking deep breaths and telling my mind I'm actually okay. And one of the things that really, really helped was lying and sleeping on my chest. So I would have pillows stacked up, and then I would lie on top of those pillows. And then that definitely helped me to breathe easier.
Yeah, so about 4 days later on the Sunday, I started showing symptoms, and then on the Tuesday, I had myself tested, and the NGO that came to our house to come and test me, one of the managers there is a friend of a family member, and he suggested to us that we use Allergex to dry out our sinuses, and in that way prevent a post-nasal drip from taking the virus into your lungs, which I did. And so the result of that was fantastic because it never went into my lungs, and that's apparently the most dangerous part. Other than that, my symptoms were just total fatigue and real body aching. Disprin helped for that, and then we had some magnesium supplements and multivitamins, and so Helen was flat on her back for about 11 days, and I was for 17 days. So it felt like a really bad flu. I think only once in my life have I felt as sick, or maybe more sick than that, when I had hepatitis. But other than that, this was probably as sick as I've ever been. And at one stage, kind of around about day 13, 14, that was the worst 2 days. I started wondering, your mind starts playing games with you, and I started wondering whether I was going to make it. And then I just thought to myself about God. God had showed me in various pictures in my mind, call it visions if you want to, previously, about things that a purpose that he still got for my life. And as I reminded myself of that purpose and the visions, I realized that God had showed those to me so that I know that I'd get through this and I wasn't going to die now. But it was a challenge to our faith, and to mine in any way.
So one of the things we just want to thank Valley and just for supporting us in this time. The meals that got dropped off, we really felt cared for, we felt nurtured, and it was so needed, because you don't have energy to actually focus on anyone but just your symptoms, because it's so overpowering. The kids also got sick. Thurston was sick for about 3 days, just sleeping most of the time, so more exhaustion than anything else. Shana was more runny nose. I'm not sure whether that was corona, because the runny nose is not really one of the symptoms of the virus. And then Tegan had a headache, so she had severe headaches for 3 days. Sean was also just not feeling well, body aches. But within 3 days, all 3 of them had recovered.
Yeah.
We took quite a few supplements, we did, quite a list. But we're just very thankful for all of you, just for supporting us and helping us through this tough time. And just for your prayers as well, because honestly, prayers have been carrying us. And you do feel uplifted. You know you're going to make it. And one of the songs that came up for me was I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. And I just really felt God's presence the whole time when we weren't able to pray, or when we weren't able to really press into his presence, or even just have that moment with him. He was definitely there for us to just take us through and carry us and surround us. And we definitely feel surrounded by Valley Church's love as well, and the grace and prayers that you've given us.
Makes such a big difference. At one stage, I think, sometimes you really can feel the prayers of believers. And those 2 days when I felt it was really the low point, directly after that, because I requested prayer from a number of people. And the next day, I could very clearly feel my body started healing, and I'd reached the turning point. So I can't share that there was any specific scripture that I held on to. It was more just a promise from God. And obviously when I saw Helen getting through it, about a week or so before me, that encouraged me. And then I realized that, as Christians, our lives depend on God, and no virus can kill us before our time. Our lives are in God's hands, and he decides when we live and when we die. So I had peace about that. After that, after I got up for about 2 weeks, my body was very run down, and it's only been in the past week and a half, 2 weeks, that I started exercising properly, going up Chapman's Peak every day.
Now that we were able to walk and able to just start in the complex and go around to the beach side, and then as it progressed, we could go up Chappies a bit more. But definitely it takes about 2 weeks for you to recover from energy. But one of the things I also noticed on day 12 was I woke up, because you feel sick for 11 days, you just feel sick. And then by 12 I woke up, and I said to John, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling like Helen again. And then your energy levels are back, you just feel that there's a turning point, and then since then it's picked up considerably. So very thankful for that.
So for me, there were some underlying issues that was a concern to me. I've been suffering from insomnia for many years now, and in the past 6 months I've been diagnosed being pre-diabetic. So I was actually quite concerned about it. But once again, I just trusted that God has got this, and
Amen.
And His will take place regardless. So I got through it. It took me a little bit longer, but I got through it, and I'd like to just encourage everybody in the church. If you do get it, God's got your life in His hands. Jesus said to Pilate that you have no power over my life unless God gives it into your hands. And I think that's true for all of us. No one and nothing has got power over our lives except God, and how He chooses to hand that power over. So no virus can get to us.
So maybe I must just share that in the old age home, when I got back, we needed to do extra shifts because there were staff members that were ill now, and also just containing the virus. We had about probably 80% of our residents got ill from the coronavirus, and about of that percentage, 3/4 recovered. These are people who are late 80s to early 90 years of age. They have extra comorbidities where they have either hypertension, they obese, there is hypertension or heart problems. So not to mention names, but I had one resident who a couple of weeks ago she had a very high blood pressure, and I wanted to phone the family and the doctor. That's our protocols, and she actually came to me and she said, "Sister, don't phone anyone. Just let me be." And I looked at her, and my heart just went out, because she was ready. And in the time that I was ill, she got ill, and unfortunately she lasted only 2 days. But for me, that was a clear indication of she was ready to go. She was ready to go because everyone else held out much longer than she did. And so that's my encouragement as well, is that there was only one moment that I was worried when John wasn't here. I was worried to go to sleep, and because he was going to get home quite late, and I didn't want the kids to maybe find my body on the bed asleep and not asleep anymore. So for me, it was a big thing that they shouldn't get into the house and find me here, and John's not here to actually cope and manage it for me. So that was my only scary moment that I had. And then just a few times through the difficulty of finding that you can't breathe. But really, your mind is very powerful. And I think that's got a lot to say for where we're heading to. We want to encourage everyone.
Yeah. So one big positive that now that we've had it is now we're fearless of it. We're immune. We can't get it anymore. We can't give it to anybody. So, and our whole family, which has given us a lot of freedom. If it's God's decision that you do get the virus, I think maybe you should just see it as God's way of giving you immunity in the long run. So, God bless, and
a big thanks.
I hope you are encouraged by this. Amen.